It was a crisp morning outside the federal courthouse. The steps leading up to the grand stone building bustled with lawyers in sharp suits, reporters clutching microphones, and citizens rushing to their hearings. Yet in the middle of this normal day, something shocking was about to unfold, an incident that would not only expose prejudice but also remind the world that respect cannot be judged by the color of someone's skin. A man in his 60s walked toward the courthouse entrance. His stride was steady, shoulders squared, posture sharp like a soldier on parade. His uniform was immaculate, the deep blue dress coat of a four-star U.S. Army general, ribbons neatly aligned, polished shoes glinting under the sun. His name was General Marcus Holloway, a decorated war hero who had served his country for over 40 years. He had led thousands of soldiers into dangerous missions, negotiated peace in hostile regions, and received countless honors for his service. But today, he was here not for war, not for politics, he was here to testify as a character witness for a young soldier unfairly accused of misconduct. It was an ordinary act of integrity. Yet what should have been a simple day of service turned into a storm of humiliation. As General Holloway reached the courthouse entrance, two police officers blocked his way. One of them, Officer Daniels, tall, pale-skinned, and brimming with arrogance, stepped forward with narrowed eyes. He looked at the general's uniform but scoffed dismissively. "Court's closed to the public right now," Daniels barked. "Move along." General Holloway calmly replied, "I have a summons to appear. I'm here to testify." He pulled out an official document. But Daniels didn't even glance at it. Instead, his lip curled with disdain. "You think you can just waltz in here, dressed up like that? Where'd you rent that uniform? Party store?" The words hung in the air, sharp as knives. Holloway's jaw tightened, but he didn't break his composure. Decades in uniform had trained him to endure disrespect with discipline. The second officer, younger and uneasy, whispered, "Daniels, I think that's a real uniform." But Daniels cut him off. "No. I've seen this scam before. Some wannabe puts on fake medals, pretends to be military to sneak into court or scam people. Not on my watch." He jabbed a finger at Holloway. "You're under arrest for impersonating a U.S. officer." Gasps erupted from nearby bystanders. Reporters turned their cameras. Lawyers froze mid-step. General Holloway's voice was calm but firm. "Son, you are making a mistake." Daniels ignored him. He yanked out his handcuffs, grabbed Holloway by the wrist, and shoved him against the cold stone pillar. The sound of metal clinking echoed across the courthouse steps. A four-star general, one of the highest ranks in the United States Army, was being handcuffed like a common criminal. The challenge of humiliation. For General Holloway, it wasn't the steel on his wrists that cut the deepest. It was the humiliation. 40 years of sacrifice, scars on his body from battles most would never understand, nights spent comforting families who had lost their loved ones, and now, here he was, being disrespected by someone too blinded by prejudice to even recognize the truth. Onlookers whispered, "Is that really a general? Maybe it's a misunderstanding. No, look at his face. That man has lived those medals." But Daniels didn't care. His bias clouded his judgment. In his eyes, a black man in uniform was suspicious, unworthy of respect, unworthy of belief. The breaking point. General Holloway was pushed into the back of a patrol car. The young officer, clearly uncomfortable, muttered, "Sir, maybe we should double-check." But Daniels snapped, "Quiet. I know what I'm doing." Inside the patrol car, Holloway sat silently. His hands cuffed behind him, back pressed against the seat, his mind drifted through decades of service. He remembered holding the American flag against his chest as he buried fallen soldiers. He remembered the oath he swore, to protect the Constitution, to defend freedom, to serve his country without prejudice. And now, the very freedom he had defended was being denied to him, because of the color of his skin. For the first time in years, anger burned in his chest. Not for himself, but for every young soldier who looked like him, who dreamed of respect but often met suspicion instead. Finally, with steady breath, he leaned forward and addressed the officer in the front seat. "Call the Pentagon." Tell them you've just arrested General Marcus Holloway. Daniels laughed cruelly. Oh, that's cute. Now he thinks he's a 4-star general. You'll be lucky if you're not charged with stolen valor. But the younger officer's eyes widened. He recognized the name. He had studied military history. Wait, General Holloway? Sir, I think he's telling the truth. Daniels shook his head. Don't be ridiculous. The call that changed everything. At the station, Holloway was shoved into a holding room. Daniels swaggered with pride, convinced he had caught a fraud. But Holloway, still composed, made one request: give me one phone call. Reluctantly, Daniels tossed him the phone, mocking, go ahead. Call your little buddies. General Holloway dialed a number with muscle memory. Within seconds, a voice answered on the other end. It wasn't just anyone, it was the Pentagon Chief of Staff. Marcus? Where are you? We were expecting your testimony an hour ago. Calmly, Holloway replied, I've been detained by local police. They believe I am impersonating myself. There was silence, then fury. What? Stay where you are. We're sending people right now. Within minutes, black SUVs rolled up to the station. Uniformed Pentagon officials stormed inside. The air grew heavy with authority. Daniels, suddenly pale, realized he was in deep trouble. The Chief of Staff himself entered the holding room, saluted General Holloway, and barked at Daniels. Do you have any idea who you just arrested? This man is one of the highest-ranking officers in the United States Army. He's a living legend. You should be saluting him, not handcuffing him like a criminal. Daniels stammered, I didn't know. No, you didn't care to know, the chief snapped. You saw his skin before you saw his service. That is the disgrace. The cuffs were removed immediately. Holloway stood tall, adjusted his uniform, and looked Daniels in the eyes. Respect is earned through actions, officer. Not through the color of your skin. Remember that. The aftermath. News spread like wildfire. Reporters had captured the entire arrest on video. The country watched in shock as a 4-star black general, an American hero, was handcuffed on the courthouse steps by a racist cop. Public outrage exploded. Daniels was suspended, investigated, and eventually dismissed for misconduct. The younger officer, who had hesitated but ultimately tried to speak up, later publicly apologized to Holloway. As for General Holloway, he returned to the courthouse and gave his testimony. But before leaving, he turned to the gathered crowd of reporters and spoke words that would echo across the nation. Prejudice blinds us. It makes us see enemies where there are allies, criminals where there are heroes. I wore this uniform not for recognition, but for duty. Yet even today, I must fight not on foreign soil, but here at home, for the basic respect every human being deserves. Let this moment remind us, dignity is not given by a badge, a title, or a uniform. Dignity is the birthright of every man and woman, regardless of the color of their skin. His words went viral. Students quoted him, soldiers saluted him, and communities found hope in his resilience. Final message. And so, General Holloway's story was more than an arrest. It was a reminder of the fight still ahead, the fight for equality, for justice, for a world where no one is judged by prejudice but by their character, their sacrifice, their humanity. Call to action. Friends, if this story moved you, I want to hear your thoughts. What would you have done if you were in General Holloway's place? Do you think justice was served? Share your feelings in the comments, I read every one of them. And remember, if you believe in kindness, respect, and equality, support this channel, be kind always. Hit the like button, subscribe, and share this story so the world never forgets, respect must be earned by character, not skin color.